Hello, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. So my name is Antoaneta Roussi, and I'm the cyber and intelligence reporter at POLITICO, based in Brussels. Because we were, we're about 15 minutes delayed, we'll have an extra 10 minutes at the end, so just for your visibility. So we're here to talk about a very exciting and also troubling theme, which is protecting Europe's critical infrastructure and entities against cyber threats. The protection of them is no longer just a technical issue, it's a national and strategic imperative. We see that Europe is being forced to confront a hard question. Can we defend and sustain our central services, our energy grids, our hospitals, our transport systems without guaranteed American backing? The answer lies somewhere between strategic autonomy and transatlantic interdependence. That tension is now at the heart of Europe's approach to security. I'm going to stop here and allow our panelists to discuss this because they're much more versed than I. We've got from the farthest end, we have Łukasz, Wojewoda.
Nearly good. Wojewoda.
Wojewoda, who's the Director of Cybersecurity at the Ministry of Digital Affairs of Poland. Next to him, it's Mr. Emmanuel Naëgelen. I should have practiced before. He's the Deputy Director General of the French Cybersecurity Agency, ANSSI. And to his left, we've got ANSSI, ANSSI Karkainen, Director General of the National Cybersecurity Centre of Finland and the Deputy Director General of Finnish Transport and Communications Agency, Traficom. So thank you very much, all of you, for joining me. I suppose I will start with Emmanuel, since we are in Paris. Last year, France had a big event in hosting the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and there was actually no major incident. I mean, I spoke to some cyber officials afterwards, and they said, you know, it doesn't mean we weren't being attacked constantly, but there was no major incident, so congratulations. But because there was no major incident, a lot of critics after the fact said, well, why did we invest so much money in protecting the opening ceremony? Why did we put, you know, billions towards security when it was sort of a false alarm? So how can you convince public administration and critical authorities that investment in cyber needs to happen, and it needs to happen consistently?
Thank you for your question, which is of course a good question. As you said, when we have the lessons learned from the Olympics, and it was very important, as you said, to really say that it's not because we had no major incidents that we had no attacks, in fact. And the best way to convince that we have to invest in cybersecurity is always to speak about the threat. And I can share with you what we observe, what we see in France. We have just published our overview concerning the threats in 2024. And what we see is very worrying, in fact. I think we share the same concerns, the same issues. The first trend we have in 2024, and unfortunately the same compared with 2023 and 2022, it's an increase. We have a 15% increase of attack in 2024 compared to 2023. So it's still increasing year after year. We also see more and more sophisticated attacks. It's also a very important issue for us, and not only from espionage-oriented actors, but also from cyber criminals. They are more and more sophisticated too, and also from activists, even if they are not very at the same level, we can say. Another very worrying issue is the fact that all these attackers are increasingly exploiting opportunities provided by vulnerabilities on edge devices, for example, VPNs or firewalls. And they are now able to exploit these vulnerabilities very massively and very in a large scale way. So, for example, when a new vulnerability is published, we are sure that at least thousands of devices are already compromised. So it's a very worrying subject, and maybe the last worrying issue concerning the threat is the fact that we also observe a new trend concerning destabilization. We have more and more attacks aiming to destabilize. For example, hacktivists. They try to, of course, do a lot of DDoS attacks and publish and comment after that. But they also tried, for example, during the Olympics, they also tried to attack small industrial facilities or small energy suppliers. And once again, the aim was clearly to destabilize the Olympic Games. So we don't have only espionage, ransomware, and we have now also different type of attackers trying to destabilize our society with sometimes small attacks, but very worrying attacks.
Thank you. ANSSI, maybe I'll go to you. In the north of Europe, you're facing a different sort of challenge, and Finland obviously has a very long border with Russia, but notably in the Baltic Sea, there have been several sabotage incidents. Not all of them, not all of them have been proven to be sabotage, but it's definitely a trend and it seems to be growing. Can you give us some thoughts about how Finland is approaching this challenge?
Thank you, and thank you first of all of inviting me. Me also here in Paris. It's always good to be in Paris. Yes, if I first just like Emmanuel already told about how things look like overall situation in cyberspace, I think I can agree pretty much at all what already was said. Also in Finland, it's been quite active. Like last year was quite active in cyberspace. We already 2022 stated with our intelligence service together that threat level in Finland is higher, and it's been remained high so far. We have about 150 serious incidents last year in which we were involved. A few we remember last year, 2024, from a few major cases. We had like city of Helsinki, a data breach, huge one. We have very heavy DDoS attacks against a Finnish bank called Nordea. And what makes those DDoS attacks very unique was that it wasn't like a 15 or half an hour DDoS against one service. It was several days in which attacker changed their methods and tactics, and Finnish bank Nordea was trying to protect and defend against those changing DDoS attacks, and but we were finally were able to manage it quite well, because we and our center was able to also bring expertise and put all the experts in Finland together to trying to solve this DDoS case during that time. We also have last year in December a big dairy company Barrio in Finland under a ransomware attack also, and lots of data, personal data, was also stolen in that attack. And then, as you mentioned, we have a few cable cuts in Baltic Sea also. So I think, like Emmanuel said, it's attacks are more sophisticated, they are faster, and adversary they are developing new methods, and it's, I think that development is continuing. But what it comes to the cable cuts, yes, we have telecom cables, but also power cable cut between Helsinki area and Tallinn, Estonia. Our role in those is that we are national regulator in telecom sector, and of course we are interested to see how networks in Finland are working and how digital services are working in Finland. And because of this regulatory thing, we got very early warning from that telecom company that there is some challenges specifically in Sea Lion cable, which runs from Helsinki down to Rostock, Germany. And then we, of course, collected all the authorities together and started to cooperate with them, sharing information what other authorities are see, and but also not only in national level but also internationally, contacting other countries around that, what the situation there, and we have this earlier cut in, I don't remember, was it September or November, but then the latest one in Christmas time, and of course what we already been learning from the first cut was that the fast reaction. So when the latest one happened, we were able to or the authorities and police and others were able to.
How quickly did you respond to that one?
It was just, I would say it happened like in couple of hours. So it was very fast to make this active thing and take that both under our control, so to say. So that happened in few hours, and because the risk was that the direction the ship was sailing, that it will hit the next cables, and I think it was only question of minutes or half an hour or something that it would have hit the next cable. So
that's very interesting, ANSSI. Maybe we can just go to Poland. Łukasz, you are obviously also on, part of NATO's eastern flank, and you have specific geographical challenges there. There's been a lot of, as Emmanuel talked about, destabilization on the border with Belarus. Can you talk to me about the specific context of Poland and how you're targeting these challenges?
First of all, thank you for inviting me in here. My pleasure to take a part in the Vibulus event. Going back to your question, yes, we do not have the easy time now as a Poland. from many cases, not only from the cybersphere case and what's going on in cyberspace, but also, as you said, about our border, what's going on in there, and so on, so on. But going back to this. Yes. Going back to cybersphere, we have a lot of experience how to deal with a crisis time, especially when there is lack of resources. And from the every beginning activity which faced Ukrainian guys, we tried to help them to be as prepared as they can and as operative as they can. So it was also a very good experience for us, because we trying to take that and incorporate in our DNA, for instance, for our legislation and our regulations. When we are talking, for instance, about the DDoS attack, it started from the Ukrainian conflict. It started because some collectives started to attack like-minded, helping Ukrainian countries. Poland was on the top of the list. To deal with that, we established national level system to support entities which were under DDoS attacks. So we, as a Ministry of Digital Affairs, providing system for all the entities from the governmental level, special services level, also for the military, to protect them from the DDoS attack. And after establishing the system and after fully configured entities under that system, I can say that DDoS attacks in many cases are unsuccessful. Even if they are in any case successful, there is some lack of configuration, or this success is very short and not influence on users and citizens. So we think we are on the good way how we are dealing with that. We are expanding it not only for the, let's say, governmental side, but also financial entities, military, as I said, special services. And it works.
Can I just ask? That's quite interesting that you say you're also doing it for the military, because usually, you know, we hear a lot about the need for civil-military cooperation in cyber more and more, but they still seem to be quite separate. And it's interesting that you, as the government, are helping the military out in DDoS.
It's very good you're asking. As you probably know, I'm military. I'm soldier in rank of colonel, and because of that, I'm giving me the civilian position, and I'm trying to combine those two words, military one and civilian one. And if there is anything what we can do together, we are trying to be as effective as we can. So, for instance, providing anti-DDoS system for all the entities. It's the similar system for every entity, every organization which needs such a protection. So we are providing that. We are giving the possibility, and organization just using that possibility. And because of that, we doing it effectively first and doing it from one place. So this effectiveness is not only operational, but also financial. We think it's a quite good way. The highest, let's say, problem was to understand each other. But this understanding goes after attack. So, for instance, if we had such a experience, we had entities which were skeptical. Oh, we do not know if we can or if we want to connect to that system. But incident occurred. There were successful attack, DDoS attack on the entity. After one night, they were fully configured in that system and problem stopped. So I think this is the way, and we are showing that close cooperation between the military and the civilian side is possible and can be quite effective. We are also in very dedicated, let's say, scene because we have a CCIRT on national level, free CCIRT on national level, different for the military, different for the governmental and critical infrastructure, and different for the private company and local government. And again, my department is a department who is providing the coordination role. We also supporting our governmental plenipotentiary for cybersecurity. Again, it's coordination role. So trying to keep people together to find overlapping activities and do it more effectively. And because of that, we have this opportunity to put resources where they are needed.
Thank you. I think we can't be on a panel talking about critical entities without speaking about NIS2. And, well, let's talk about it. It was obviously very ambitious. Some say too wide of a scope. And now countries are having quite an issue in transposing it to the national legislation, and yet time is ticking. We need to get it done. The EU, the Commission actually gave, I think it was 18 countries, kind of a 2-month deadline to do so. So maybe, Emmanuel, you can start with how it was done in France and whether, these kind of, national security policies can align better with EU policies without duplication.
Yes, where are we in France concerning NIS2? So it's still under discussion at the Parliament for now. We expect it will the text will be the new law will be voted during the summer. So we are not far from the end of this long process. And of course, as you said, NIS2 is a great opportunity for us to shore up defenses for our critical infrastructures. It will help us to protect especially the supply chain, which is often the weakest link today. And it's very important for us to have this new legislation in place. But we haven't waited for NIS2 to protect our critical infrastructure. For example, in France, we have since 2013 a critical infrastructure protection law, which was very helpful to convince the owners, the private owners of all these critical infrastructures to protect their systems. So we are not starting from the beginning right now. We have already more than 10 years of work in this domain. But of course, NIS2 will help us to multiply, in fact, our capability to better protect this critical infrastructure, especially all these small and medium businesses, which are so important for the supply chain of critical infrastructure because they are connected with this critical infrastructure, or the big companies really rely on these small and medium businesses. So it's a very important step. We are not far from it now, and we really hope that in the coming weeks we will be able to really implement it now.
And ANSSI, how about it in Finland?
Thank you. In Finland, we actually accepted our national law of NIS2, and that was 8th of April already. So a little while ago, and we have had like a 30 days period for the Finnish critical infrastructure companies to register themselves, and I don't know the exact numbers right now, but I think lots of companies have already registered. National law, okay, it's I think in Finland we just add a little bit things to that, so it's a little bit wider than just these two requirements. For example, giving us as a National Cybersecurity Center little bit more duties and tasks. But when I think of NIS2 and its effectiveness in Finland, I think that I kind of hope that it won't change a lot, because we already have quite long history working with the critical infrastructure companies or private sector overall. We have good relationship, very trust-based relationship with private sector. We collect about 20,000 notifications, like total number each year. Those all are voluntary based shared with us, and we would like to continue, even if we have this NIS2 implementation or national law now ready. We would like to continue with the way that it's not only those things which are mentioned in NIS2 or national law you have to notify or give a notification. But please share all the information what it comes to the cyber threats and incidents and events and whatever you think is necessary or adding value to the.
It's not always the easiest to convince private companies to do that. What about in Poland, Łukasz?
I try. It's working. Okay. We are on governmental level when we are talking about the implementation of NIS2. But I would like to mention that implementing NIS2 is not enough. We must remember about CER directive. Those two must go both together to have all the issues connected to the critical infrastructure gathered.
You mean the Cyber Resilience Act?
No. This one, the directive which is connected to critical infrastructure, CER. Mm-hmm. Because from the CER is said that anything what is related to critical infrastructure and it's connected to cyber must be implemented as in NIS2. So you must have implementation of both CER and NIS2. And because of that, the amount of entities from our national perspective will dramatically rise. So, for instance, now these critical operators which we have is around 400. But after implementation, we expect there will be 40,000. So, huge amount of entities under regulation. And because of that, we have some challenges how to implement it. But we're trying to do it with cooperation and discussion with local government entities, because we implementing our law that this option to take care about the local government entities will be also under our implementation. So a huge discussion, we closed that discussion, have quite good solutions, how to deal with the requirement and how to provide resources not to, let's say, kill the entity with the regulation. We must remember that NIS2 is changing something spectacular when we are talking about the penalties, how you are going to pay if you do not do something. And that's another question from the, let's say, entities from the private sector. It will rise tremendously and they are afraid of that. We are saying you do not have to be afraid of anything because probably you are doing everything as good as you can. So you are safe on that. But still there is a huge discussion why so high and why in that manner. And we are saying because of the directive. So we think that this discussion is also closed and expecting that this governmental level will go quite smoothly. But there is another procedure which we have in the same regulation as the implementation. We have this high-risk vendor procedure. So this is another discussion, because we looking very widely on the supply chain security. Widely, not only seeing that the telco sector should be under that, but we must provide wider procedure, because NIS2 is pointing that, giving us, let's say, Toolbox 5G as an example how the procedure should look like when we will have this risk assessment on the UE level conducted. So we are trying again not to point anything, but provide procedure if we need it. So many activities and many also proactive activities. So we are providing some additional regulation to be more operational effective. Let's say some procedure pointing, you must do something and you have no other way.
Right. Today, the European Parliament's ITA committee approved the first report on digital sovereignty with a large majority, and it's a word that's been going around here throughout the day. So I wanted to ask each of you, maybe starting with Emmanuel, do you think that digital sovereignty needs to be part of the solution in protecting critical entities? And also, what is your definition of digital sovereignty? Because I think that's also disputed.
Thank you for your question, which is not an easy question. We don't speak a lot of digital sovereignty because as a cybersecurity agency, we are not comfortable with this term of sovereignty. It's a very important word, of course, but it's a more political one, and we are technicians, so we are not very easy with this word. We are more easy with the idea of strategic autonomy, which is maybe the same idea behind, but which concerning cybersecurity, it's very needed. It's very needed because we have two main threats concerning cybersecurity and strategic autonomy, which are the impact of extraterritorial laws, the first one, and the second one is the export restrictions that we can have on products or services. And these two threats could have a real impact on our critical services. The risk number one for us lies in extraterritorial laws. It's the reason why at ANSSI we have decided to revise our national cloud certification scheme to include measures to address the risk of extraterritorial laws. And the risk number two, in fact, lies in the availability of critical services and this subject of export restriction. Because we can have tomorrow measures taken to limit or to prohibit the export of products or services we use nowadays in our critical services. So, having said that, strategic autonomy is not a new issue for Europe in the digital domain. For example, we've been dealing with this issue of high risks vendors in 5G for at least, I think, 5 years. So we have already an experience in this domain. But what we need now is really to have a common criteria at the European level to be sure that we could have offers being developed at the scale for Europe. And coming back to cloud, it's exactly what we are trying to do with the EU cloud certification scheme, which is still under discussion. but it's very important in this new scheme to have shared organization and legal criteria to address this risk of availability, of security concerning our data.
And you know, notably, the Netherlands has changed its position on that. They were sort of one of the biggest proponents for the countering this kind of digital cloud, sovereign cloud, and now they seem to be, well, they're talking about it in their own parliament, which is notable. So the cloud discussion is still very much alive. I wanted to ask, just from my own knowledge, when did ANSSI decide to revise its national cloud strategy?
Oh, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when we have decided to publish a new scheme including legal and organizational criteria to protect against extraterritorial laws. So we already have this experience in this domain, and we try to have it now at the European level, because it's at this level that we can do something very efficient.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. ANSSI, you know, a lot of the products and the components that are used in critical entities, like, you know, VPNs, etc., are also have vulnerabilities, and you know, they are often provided by non-European players. Can you tell me your perspective on this strategic autonomy?
Yes, of course, also in Finland, it's kind of hot topic nowadays to talk about sovereignty. And when it comes to the digital environment, it's a bit different than those traditional areas, so to say. We have already long history with building resilience. Like from the last wars we fought already decades ago, we've been building and trying to maintain resilience thinking, so to say. So I guess we've been always been kind of preparing for the first case scenario, maybe because of a geopolitical location, so to say. But yes, and when you think of digital sovereignty, it's very challenging, as Emmanuel said already. We all know that we are more or less depending nowadays from let's say those big service providers, and unfortunately many of them are not originated in EU or in Europe, and those services, those are very hard and even impossible to replace nowadays. If you talk about or think about, for example, Microsoft, in Finland, I guess 95% of the organizations use Microsoft services, for example. And then if there is in some case some political things that could affect, for example, that maybe some areas in Europe or some other places in worldwide is blocked. Microsoft won't offer any more services in certain areas, for example. That of course causes a big troubles right away. So that's one thing, dependencies, those services, and then on the other hand, nowadays it's quite also quite challenging just to build your own service in your own basement, so to say, anymore, because in that way it's for example, from a cybersecurity perspective, it's quite challenging to, for example, maintain good level of cybersecurity if you are doing it by yourself, because those big, for example, cloud providers, I think they are investing a lot more, for example, for security, because they must do that, because they are global players and they won't have their business anymore if their data is breached, for example. So they invest heavily and they have good security features, and I think they'll develop. So it's kind of balancing how much you put the things and use big service providers and what you do pretty much by yourself. So I don't know, challenging question.
Łukasz, I'll give the floor to you and then I'll open up for some questions from the audience.
When we are talking about the sovereignty, for me, it's a more additional question than answers. So what we are trying to achieve, from the first look, it's easy. Be independent in every sphere of our life. But when we are talking about the possibilities and reality, it's quite starting to be challenging. Okay, we are talking about the equipment, software, about the people, procedures, what kind of level is our goal? Where is the border between being independent and being related to someone? And those questions are also very, very active in Poland, especially when we are talking about the cloud providers. How we can deal with these activities, these possibilities which can be provided by the national entities, national companies, and what is the difference when we are talking another one, let's say, how they keep secure, let's say, for instance, supply chain. Not only equipment, but also software. How they will provide something what we need when there will be lack of equipment on the market. COVID, it's a very good example. Let's think about what we had 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and how to buy fast something very specific. The queue in the vendors was very long. That's our experience. Why we have this experience? Because we tried to help Ukrainian guys and provide for them some infrastructure to do something which is not available and do it fast. We need, starting from the container, ending on the specialist who will help to configure everything. How do it fast? In reality, when there was a queue for the specific equipment, for instance, 11 months, but we need it in 2 weeks. That's everything going on the, this list of the question which we must answer. What exactly we mean that we would like to be independent, sovereign, and so on.
You got to sacrifice something in life. You can't have it all.
Yeah, we understand it fully, and we must have some kind of level of, let's say, achievement. And starting from that level, let's say, after a few 5, 10, 15 years, we are going to have this level lower or higher. It depends. The first question is what level we are going to start and what level we are going to end.
What do you want to achieve? Okay, does anyone else have questions? Yes. Please state your affiliation and name.
Thank you. Eric Saman from Palo Alto. To Emmanuel, you spoke about the diversification of the threat actor, especially on critical infrastructure, critical entities. We know that some event can be catastrophic in that space, and I want to put context in the insurance market, cybersecurity insurance market. A couple of years ago, they excluded what we call act of war or potentially anything affiliated with nation state attacking critical infrastructure from their policies and cyber insurance. Us being a private vendor, we've also been struggling in attribution and determining what is nation state versus what is opportunistic. I'm curious to understand how you approach as a technician, how do you approach the differentiation between nation state versus opportunistic, isolated case? I think it's a very difficult topic as it is, but what is your philosophy towards it at the moment?
Thank you for your question. Of course, when I say there are state-sponsored attackers, there are cyber criminals, there are activists, it's not that simple, in fact, because you can have cyber criminals working for states, and you have, of course, activists, which are very close to states. So it's always very tricky, always difficult to see who is at the origin of the attack, and it's a very difficult activity. In fact, we have our expertise, our technical expertise. We are able, for example, to compare softwares or TTPs and so on, and say, okay, this attack looks like an APT28 attack, and so we see the same kind of TTP and so on, but it's not sufficient to have that technical assessment. You also need the capacities of the intelligence services to be sure that there is no this kind of reuse of software or TTPs by another state, for example. So it's a very difficult activity to be to make this attribution, technical attribution, and it's not always successful, to be honest. We have many cases in which we don't really know. We have suspicion, ideas, but we are not sure. And at the end, what we try to have is to have certainty concerning the origin of the attack. So, yes, a difficult subject, not easy to answer. You're right.
If I just may add one thing, we also see that it could be so that the state actor is actually using hacktivist or crime groups for their purposes. So once in a while, it's quite challenging to separate them.
Want to add in that, and we have an example of that. DDoS we were discussing. There's a group, No Name 57, which is familiarized with the Russian Federation, supporting attacks on all the countries who are providing support to Ukrainian. And this is what we are observing now, even in Poland.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, at the back.
Thank you, Stéphane Gagnon, University of Quebec in Canada, and also a member of the Academic and Workforce Advisory Committee in ISACA, where we have about 20 faculty worldwide, and we're trying to push ISACA to help with the talent gap, as we all know. And I wondered about your sectors. Of course, the critical entities are the first ones who should have that talent gap resolved. We don't want you guys to be the last. So the question is, what are your strategies to make sure that critical entities have the talent required? And do you have radical solutions, such as a mandatory cyber force of 2 years for all computer science students? I don't know, wild ideas. However, I would like to know, please, what are your strategies?
I can start. In many cases, critical infrastructure is private entity, private company. So it's generally the private company responsibility to have the specific resources which this company needs. But in many cases, if there is something wrong, something happening which is beyond the possibilities and capabilities of a company, there is a possibility that one of our national CSIRs can help on that manner, especially CSIRs NASC, which are under my supervision. So there is such a possibility that we can support with action, with analysis during the incident response procedure. So yes, there is something, but we would like to have more. So there are some ideas how to be more prepared. And again, cooperation between civilian and military side. Our military side started our new program. It's Cyber Legion, convincing people to be ready to service, and if something happen, to help country in the cybersphere.
Yes, if I can add something, yes, I thought before about this critical information protection law that we have since 2013. And thanks to this law, we have now a close relation with all these critical infrastructure owners. And this kind of relationship is not only based on obligations, it's also based on technical exchanges, operational exchanges. All these critical infrastructures owners are big companies, so they have the means to have C-certs, for example, in their company. So we have very regular exchanges between all these C-certs with our cert, GovCert, French GovCert, and it's very operational, in fact. So we exchange a lot concerning the threats, the IOCs, and so on. And once again, it's not only something imposed by the law, it's more imposed by the threat. So, and at the end, it's very efficient.
Yes, I think that it's of course the responsible of the critical infrastructure company to have that relevant talent there. And in Finland, unfortunately, we've been able to have more universities and other schools or academia to educate more cyber expertise, and that's of course good for those companies who are trying to find a relevant people. Also, we can support those companies also in the case of accidents. Of course, quite limited resources, but still quite good competence, for example, in forensics and stuff like that. So I think it's always like cooperation and that.
Thank you. Any last remarks? I guess I'll have one more question, if I may, and then we've got a keynote. I guess it would be good to look towards the future, right? So just a quick round. Give me your thoughts in like one sentence on what gaps remain in incident detection and coordinated response, and how can we move ahead and fix them?
I don't know. I just believe in cooperation.
Yes, I think that Kuri said before that cybersecurity is always collective or something like that, and I think that the solution is in cooperation and collective work. In fact, so that's the way we are doing it for many years, and we sure have to progress and make more in this domain, but that's the solution.
From my perspective, better post-incident activities. So let's change what we do during the process after what we have seen previously, and not happen it again.
Thank you very much all, and enjoy the rest of the day.